Hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome to another show on Living Naturally with Michaela Live, where we talk about all things for living a naturally healthy life. I am Michaela Jones, Indie naturopath and mind body connection specialist, and joining me today is Marian Egan, holistic practitioner and creator of Heart Art Magic and Healing Card Decks. Today, we're going to be talking about how creative expression can be a powerful tool for healing, renewal, and transformation. Creativity is essential for emotion release, subconscious healing, and planting new seeds for personal growth in the spring season. So, welcome, Marianne. I am so happy to have you here again on the show.
Oh, thank you, Michaela. Thank you for asking me. It's really good to be with you.
I am so excited about this particular topic. This month, I decided to do all shows that were about spring and renewal and letting go of the old and planting the new and all of that. And I think it's a very timely topic. And I know that your expertise is really in like helping people to get rid of the limiting stuff that is holding them back. So I think this is going to be a very powerful conversation for us to have today. But before we get started, would you like to pull a card for us to set the intention for our show today?
Absolutely. So let me do that. So for the intention for today, intuitively choose. Oh, nice one. This one says, follow your dream.
Ooh.
So follow your dream is a powerful call to pursue your deepest aspirations with passion and determination, believing in your ability to achieve them. This image represents the courage and commitment required to turn your dreams into reality, encouraging you to take bold steps toward your vision. Know when you follow your dream, you are reminded that your dreams are your guiding light, leading you to a life filled with purpose, fulfillment, and your joyful passion. There you go. Follow your dream.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, that's a very good card for our show today because again, it's about letting go of the old and planting the new. And many times for us, new things, are new dreams. So that really just goes along with everything that we're going to be discussing today. So that is an awesome card. Well, let's just dive in then to our first point of topic, and it's about the power of creative expression in healing. So let's start there. So I personally feel like engaging in creativities like painting and journaling or music um, helps us regulate our nervous system, and it helps lower stress levels. And the process of creating allows for emotional expression as well, which actually bypasses the logical mind and helps us tap into deeper feelings. And scientific studies have shown that creative activities reduce our cortisol, which you all know is the stress hormone in our bodies, and helps increase dopamine, which leads to an improved mood. So, Marianne, can you share in your experience how using art for emotional self healing it helps along these lines with the emotional expression and being able to tap into deeper feelings and bypassing the logical mind? That particular point, I think, is very important because I'm one of those people that tends to overthink, and I think a lot of people do. So I find that creative expression can actually help you bypass that overthinking. What is your opinion on that?
Well, you're absolutely correct on that one because for me, when I start painting, I'm painting from the subconscious. So you're going beyond the conscious mind, which brings a flow and a connection. And your subconscious mind knows what's going on in your brain and your body. That's the important thing. And you don't have to really realize, well, what's going on. your subconscious knows exactly what it is and what it can release and let go of automatically. So just recently, my experience, because I did a painting just recently, just out of pure and utter gratitude of what's happening with myself personally and professionally.
Mhm.
Painting, I called it Orbit Sanctuary, because it's literally like lifting me off into a beautiful sanctuary place of being, of well-being. But it sparked an intuitive idea that is now in operation, and I'm doing research on this at the moment. And it's showing results, and it's about releasing what is no longer serving you.
Mhm.
When you release the emotional and mental baggage, it also allows you to release what you may be holding on to in your body. Like,
Yes.
particularly the adipose fat around the organs and
Mhm.
glands, under the skin and around the tummy, all the places where you don't want any excess fat to be. So when you release that emotional and mental excess baggage, you're training the brain, and it starts to release and stops the self-sabotage within, like it stops the inner critic, it stops the guilt, the blame, and the shame, etc. So it's so important to allow yourself to do that for yourself. It's so freeing, and I've been doing it excuse me, doing it many, many years now. So I'm at the stage where I have released so much and let go of so much stuff that no longer serves me, you
Yeah.
know. But that leaves room, Michaela, for new possibilities,
Right.
new ideas. And this is what's happening right now. And I'm so grateful for it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I also feel like the creativity, the creative expression can also help you in reducing stress. In addition to releasing the trapped emotions, because people hold, like you were saying, people hold on to the emotions in their bodies, and that's what a lot of people don't realize is, and that's kind of the work that I do, no matter what I'm seeing a client for. Most of the time when there's some sort of body issue, there is I always tell them there's some sort of emotional anchor that's there too that we also need to deal with, because our
Mhm.
bodies will hold that unreleased emotional whatever into the bodies, and it gets into the tissues and everything, and it can cause all kinds of issues, not only physical pain, but like you said, like the extra weight. I deal a lot with people with weight issues. Well, they think it's weight issues, and most of the time it's more emotional issues, is them holding on to some sort of trauma or emotion that their bodies are literally putting up a guard, if you will.
Yeah,
And it's like you need to deal with why your body and your subconscious is guarding you. What is it that's there that you need to let go of the old so you can release the new you? So I feel that creativity allows us to express and release those emotions in a nonverbal way. Many times, I feel emotions are, some people just can't express them emotionally and
Mhm.
verbally, and sometimes they're so big that there just isn't words for it. But I find that when you can do some sort of creative endeavor and you put the emotions into the creative outlet, you're able to release that without having to express it in words. And so things like art and music and movement based creativity really can act as an emotional detox. So what do you feel about that? What is your opinion on that?
yeah, well, that's very, very true. And I think a lot of the time people don't realize, and for a long time I didn't either, when I was very stressed and traumatized, um, just to make it an awareness, to have the awareness. So before you actually do the creativity, whether it's the movement or the music or the dance or, whatever it is for you, your creativity that you like to do, set the intention that you're giving yourself permission, and you're allowing your body to just release what it no longer is serving a positive purpose for, just letting it go, because your body knows best. Because when you keep thinking negatively, you're fueling your body to stay in a very low vibration.
Yes.
And that channels the channel frequencies elevate your body to a higher level for optimum outcome and results. I've even noticed this in this new deck that I've created. I've called it Skinny Mini Me, which, which is programmed to melt away the inches so you can throw away the scales,
Yeah.
So that being, and we've spoken about this many times about the awareness,
Yes.
about having that awareness that what no longer serves me, I'm giving myself permission, I'm allowing this to go, and listen to the music and listen to, do your creativity activity, whatever that is, because this spring, it's new beginnings, new life, new directions. And this is this is what it's all about. Everything, if you look out into nature and you've got, bulbs pushing through the earth and coming up into springing out, even though the ground could be frozen, they're still able to make their way out. And even those little, the crocuses and the
Mhm.
snowdrops, they're so delicate, and yet they can push through this frozen earth and just show themselves. It's amazing. Like, nature is wonderful. So when you're in that vibrational, natural state of being, you too can have that new beginning and that new release. But it's up to you.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. You mentioned the vibration of the earth and how nature itself is starting to spring, and the energy of that affects all living creatures, including those of us who are living on this earth. So
Mhm.
when nature starts to change, it puts out this vibrational energy that we can feel.
Yeah.
And when we are aware of that vibration, we too can align ourselves with that vibration of renewal as well and be able to use it to our benefit. So at least that's kind of what I was getting from what you were saying. So
Yeah. Yeah. And even with with the brighter mornings and the longer days, they're all starting,
yeah,
the mornings are brighter and the days are longer. That's another spring moment,
yeah,
and for the new beginnings, so people who are listening or watching, make a decision, this is no longer, whatever it is no longer serving me. Now
yes.
I want something new in my life. I'm starting afresh. Now time to start afresh and do something new for me.
Yes. Yeah, I find that I always feel extra energized when spring comes around, and I just naturally feel that way. But again, it's about being in tune with nature so you can feel those vibrations and you can use them as well. That's the whole point of awareness. You were just talking about awareness is being
Yeah.
aware of that and tapping into that and utilizing what is naturally occurring. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about symbols and archetypes and how they help to unlock subconscious healing. I know a lot of your decks have symbols and symbolism in it. And um, symbols and symbolism is one of those things that the average person would probably start saying, "Oh, that's kind of woo woo," but it's not really because it's generally stuff that is coming from our subconscious. And if we can learn to interpret what's coming from our subconscious, because sometimes our subconscious doesn't talk to us in words, it talks to us in imagery, just like dreams are imagery. So being able to tap into that and understand what your subconscious mind is trying to tell you can help you with their healing. Because as you said earlier, our subconscious knows what's going on. It knows what it needs and it wants to tell us. And it can tell us and it does tell us, but we have to know what it's saying. And sometimes symbols and colors and imagery that are deeply rooted in the subconscious mind
Mm-hmm.
is the way that our inner can talk to our outer. So let's talk a little bit about the significance of personal symbols and how they can emerge in creative expression. I know sometimes when you do your paintings, symbols will come out from your subconscious, and I think we're all capable of doing that.
Yeah,
So can you talk a little bit more about symbols and colors and imagery and those kind of things, and how that applies to the subconscious, and how the creativity can allow that to come out?
it's very, very interesting because, when I start painting, I never have, I do not know what's going to come out. And I just base it on my last painting. When I went out to paint, it was a beautiful sunny day. And when I went in to do my painting, I decided I would cut some like branches, or they're not leaves, but I don't know what the plant is. But I made a little, like a little brush from
Mhm.
the plant in the garden. And I literally started to just use them instead of a brush. And it was really amazing because it was inspired. It was inspired by another artist that I created a deck for. And because her art is all to do with flowers in the garden, this is what inspired me to actually use the plant to
Mhm.
create the painting. And it was wonderful. When I was finished, then I got the inspiration then to I could see a dragonfly in this painting.
Mhm.
Now, the dragonfly has a 360-degree visionary.
Right.
And it also lives in water, and after the water, it comes into the air, and then it can fly. It's just a wonderful symbol of freedom, really. So I just go with the flow. I don't even. The only thing I do, as I said, is I will set an intention before I paint, and I set an intention before I pull a card for myself. The same way as you set the intention for everybody here today listening,
Yeah.
and that card, follow your dream to come through. Setting the intention, following your heart, and you don't need to know necessarily what it's all about. Just go with the flow, and that's the essence of what I do, Michaela. I don't think about it, I just do it. And sometimes, I look at some of the paintings I've done and they don't resonate. But you know what? It has lifted and shifted another layer of something that
Yeah.
needed to be lifted and shifted. There is another lady who came to see me not so long ago, and she does have actual symbols that she has created, you
Mhm.
know. And I think I might have said this on the last show. I did a painting of a tree, and she did a painting of a tree, and I had fruit on my tree, and she had symbols on her tree because these were her
Mm.
symbols she had created.
Yeah.
But the trunk of the tree was a male and a female figure in the tree. She had painted a male and female figure in her tree. It was just, and I called that intuitive connection. It was just incredible that the two of us had the same idea.
Yeah.
We painted the same painting. Now, the paintings didn't look the same, but the same elements came out in the
Yeah.
paint,
Yeah.
and she used her symbols and I used my creativity.
Yeah.
But it is so amazing that your body does know what to do. When
Yeah.
you give it, this is the key thing, give it the time and the space that it needs in order for you to do it. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we are so busy being busy that we don't stop and we don't give ourselves the time that we need for the body to even. It's like you and me speaking now. You're listening to me as I'm speaking. When you're
Yeah.
speaking, I'm listening to you. Take the time to listen to yourself. What is your body trying to tell you? And you're not listening. Your body is all the time trying to get your attention. Because if you have discomfort in your body, that's your body saying, excuse me, can you have a look at this? I'm not happy with this.
Yeah.
This is body talk, and it's your body talking to you. So when you've got that body talk, stop and listen, and even take a pen and paper and just say, well, look, I have a pain in my big toe or I have a pain in my back. What is this all about? And
Yeah.
just continue to write. And this automatic writing, even, or painting, or as you say, any sort of creativity
Yeah.
that you like to do
Yeah.
can bring forth what your body is trying to get you to pay attention to. it's so important to stop and listen and take the time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'd like to add to that sometimes symbols are very personal, and what one person would interpret a symbol meaning would be something totally different for another person. There are some generic symbols, like you said, like the dragonfly and leaves and stuff like that. There are some generic symbols, and I even find that color also plays a difference in things too. I'm a huge believer in color therapy. I use that a lot with my clients because colors can shift moods and change, properties within you, which can facilitate your healing on the subconscious level. A lot of people don't think about that, about how different colors affect them and what those colors mean. So, I mean, so look at things like that, like butterflies. Butterflies have huge symbolism. Butterflies are generally about transformation and rebirth. So what does it say to you when you see butterflies? And in the springtime, we start to see them. So it's like when you're seeing the butterflies, what is that saying to you? What does your subconscious want to tell you when you interact with a butterfly?
Well, when I see a butterfly, and you think about, like, first of all, where it's come from, its cocoon, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's been in that cocoon, and then it has broken free, dried its wings, and then it's off and flying. And I've seen documentaries on, say, the monarch butterfly,
Mm-hmm.
and thousands of them, and they fly for thousands of miles. I mean, they they are so light and so, there's no substance to them, there's no weight in them, but yet they can go for miles. They know exactly where to go, where to, find the best plants and everything for food and for fuel and all of that. They are just so amazing, but nature is so amazing. Just recently, I put some bird feeders on my windows, so the birds actually come to the window to feed, and it's lovely because you can see the red robins and all the blue, bluefinch and that coming up and feeding right at my window. So I don't even have to look out the window; they're at my window. It is wonderful. But
Yeah.
that's, again, it's nature, like nature, and we are nature. But are we listening to ourselves? Are we doing what's right for us, for that renewal, for the self-care, which we've talked about many times before?
Yeah.
I
No.
think this is why I do my daily journaling. It has helped me so much personally, but also it has transpired into my professional life as well.
Mhm.
Has helped me. So it's incredible when you just take note of where you're at, where you want to be, and where you're going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now let's talk a little bit about the role of intuition in the creative process. So we've talked about, using creativity to express emotions and to allow our subconscious to come forward and tell us the things it needs to do and to help us to be more aware, of what's going on in and around us. But let's talk a little bit about how intuition plays a part in that, because creativity is most powerful when we let go of our expectations and allow our intuition to guide the process. Again, I mentioned earlier how many people overthink. I am guilty of being an overthinker as well, and I have to catch myself and go, you're overthinking it.
Mhm.
So, you know, how does intuition speak through imagery and movement and as a in free form expression? Because, so what I'm getting at is how do we allow the intuition to take over to drive that? Because that's when we're going to be most free. And that's when we're really going to allow things to release and be able to access what is trying to come out.
Well, I think it goes down to trust, trusting yourself. For many years I didn't trust myself, and now I do intuitively. But if you think about the word intuition, intuit, you're getting into it. But into it with what? It's into it with yourself. But it's yourself and your higher self, and your higher self knows more and sees more and is more. I've said this before about your GPS. It's like setting your sat nav on your GPS. When you do that and allow your higher self to give you the guidance that you need. I'm doing this more often, and I probably started when I was dealing with clients in clinic, and I would start speaking from the heart, and something just magical would come out of my mouth, and I would say to myself, Marian Egan, did you just hear what you said? Are you listening to what you've just said? And that's when I started to realize that this intuitive process is automatically within us when we allow it to come out,
Yeah.
So listening to your words, listening to how you feel, because, how you feel is, you can change how you feel, and you can change how you feel by changing your thoughts. So your thinking will change how you feel, but that intuition into it, it's inside of you. It's there. It's just tapping into that. And sometimes people say, well, how do you do that? And just, again, for me, how I do it is through my art and through my creativity. And, I knit a lot as well. So that's my meditation time as
Yeah.
well. So either painting or just sitting still. And this is a really weird thing, but it's come. My intuition has just given me the say this. Okay, so I'm going to say it. Talk to yourself. Sit down and say, okay, Marian, what would you like to do today? How would you like to feel today? The same way as you would talk to somebody who you love and say, well, look, what can I do for you today?
Yeah.
Ask yourself, what can I do for me today that will bring me joy, bring me peace and tranquility? And it could be, as you say, just go for a walk out in nature, even if it is raining, so what? You just get wet. So,
Right.
but if it's nice and sunny, it's nicer. But talk to yourself, give yourself the time to see, well, what do I want? Where am I going? Am I at the place? Am I in the right place for me at this right place and time?
Yeah.
So if you're happy, then you are. If you're not happy, then you're not. So that's the answer.
Yeah.
So if you're not happy, then you need to change something. So and the only person that can change you is you,
Yeah.
Nobody else can make you happy. You need to make yourself happy. It's,
Mhm.
it's got to be, it's up to me.
Right. And and I'd like to add to that for those that are out there that are more of the logical minded kind of people, because I know it's hard to wrap your mind around this whole intuition and creativity thing. But I wanted to point out from a mind body connection how being able to get into that intuitive creative state can can actually help regulate the nervous system. It's actually a very natural way to regulate the nervous system, which again, as we said earlier, helps reduce cortisol, helps reduce the stress and all of that kind of stuff. And you may feel like, oh, I can't really do that, but I invite you to think about how you feel calmer when you're just like doodling absent-mindedly, or you're coloring, or you're engaging it in any type of other creative activity, whether you're just dancing around the house with some music on and stuff. Notice how you feel when you're doing those things, when you're not overthinking it and you're just going with the flow. You feel so much better. You feel so much calmer. That is that activity regulating the nervous system. It actually activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which pulls us out of that fight or flight and bring us more into the rest and restore state of mind.
Mhm.
So being able to embrace creativity actually is a very good thing that you could do for your body on the physical side of things. And just being able to, and I know that in the world today, we generally have a lot more stress just overall. So being able to take those moments where you can do those little creative things can help you get out of that stress state. You know,
Mhm.
as Marianne talked about, she likes to do knitting and some other stuff. So it doesn't have to be painting or drawing or doodling. It can be almost anything that you find joy in. I
Mhm.
personally, I like to crochet. I, you know, I sometimes I get on my rebounder, which to me is also creative because when I'm on my rebounder, I make up, different steps to do on it. It's like, okay, what can I do different on the rebounder today? For those of you who don't know where the rebounder is, it's like a little mini trampoline. But occasionally I like to just try something new as well. And just trying a new activity can also be very freeing. Like lately, I've been into doing wire art, and it was just something I just decided I want to try to do that. And
Yeah.
I have just been having so much fun doing that. And I have noticed that the tension level has decreased so much, so find something. If you don't find something, try to something new. If what you've been doing is like, I don't feel like doing that anymore, do something else. Or like Marianne said, go for a walk in nature. There are so many things that you can do that are creative. You just have to just let it go, let it flow.
Well, you're talking about using the trampoline. I've been using the trampoline for many years now, but I knit or crochet when I'm on the trampoline. So it brings a whole new connotation to the word. I call it jumpering because I'm
Oh,
doing
that's
my jumpering.
funny. That's funny. I'm not sure if I could actually, crochet or knit while I am jumping on the trampoline, but that's very interesting. But
Well,
it makes me think because I love being on my rebounder, but that
yeah,
makes me think of what are some other things I can do while I'm on the rebounder that might be
I'll,
kind of fun, So
well, I'll give you one because I just started I made up a new exercise recently because this idea, since I did my last painting, the Orbit Sanctuary painting, and this idea came in, and I said, okay, so I'm spending many hours on my computer, and I don't, sitting for hours does not suit me at all. I need to be moving, right? So I've created this new exercise. It's called complexercising. So that means I'm on the computer, I'm on my rebounder, so it's very complex, and I'm exercising at the same time. So it's complexercising, and I'm actually working on my computer while I'm rebounding. So give that a go as well and see.
I may try that. I have a sitting standing desk, so I could probably put my desk in standing position and get
Yeah,
my rebounder in there and give that a try. Yeah. And the good thing about doing stuff like that too is that it helps you to be able to use both your right and your left side of your brain too, which is also very beneficial. And
yeah,
it's very good for increasing cognitive ability or um, keeping from reducing cognitive ability,
mhm,
and as we get older, being able to do things that help our cognitive state is actually very beneficial. Personally love doing puzzles and stuff because it also helps
yeah.
engage my brain. And actually for me, puzzles and coloring are two of my favorite things to do, and it really helps to de-stress me. And yeah, so
I I
I
would.
may have to give that a try.
Well, I would love to try the wire art because I've seen people do it, and I said, God, I'd love to do that. I just need to get the materials to do
Yeah.
that. But there is a client of mine, and she broke her dominant wrist.
Mhm.
So she's learning how to write with the less dominant hand, and she's getting very good at it, so but that's a forced thing, but if you didn't have to force it, I mean, I would say even brush your teeth with your less dominant hand. It's something that we don't do. We use our dominant hand for
Yeah.
most tasks, so switch it up and switch it around, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to try. I'll try the wire art, you try the jumpering and the complexercise
Okay.
and see how that goes.
Yeah. And then it's very interesting. You were talking about, trying something with the less dominant side.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of, in yoga, we try to be able to do the moves from both the right and the left side, because it hits different on different sides. And most people are going to be better at doing it on one side or the other, but
Hmm.
being able to train your body to do it on the less dominant side actually
Yeah.
balances you that much more. So,
Better. Yeah.
so that I encourage people to do that, to try switching things up. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move to the next thing. So this is where I wanted to get to, and it's all about spring renewal and releasing the old and planting the new stuff. We've already been talking a little bit about how nature and its natural cycles and the energy of spring and the plants that are budding and the trees that are starting to grow new leaves, or they're dropping the old leaves for the evergreen trees. They're dropping the old leaves in and having new leaves come in. Nature has its own timing, and it knows what time it is, and the energy does shift, and we as humans, we pick up on those shifts as well, whether we realize it or not. So spring is actually a really good time, because it represents new beginnings and growth and shedding old layers, and it's a really good time for us to align with this energy by using creativity to release what no longer serves us. Marianne has already used that wording. I use that wording with my clients as well. One of the statements I give them when we're working is, I release anything and everything that no longer serves me. So spring is a really good time of releasing that old stuff that is not serving you anymore. Think of nature. It's like it's dropping the old leaves. We don't need those old leaves anymore. We need new leaves now. Or it's time to blossom. So, so we're releasing the outer shell that we needed to protect us when we were in the ground. Now it's time to sprout and grow leaves and blossoms that can soak up the sun. So there's a time for everything. And just as winter is a time to be dormant and to allow the body to rest, to get ready for the rebirth of spring, spring is the time of renewing. So let's talk about ways that we can release old stuff and planting the new one. So, this is when I want to talk a little bit about rituals. And rituals is another one of those words that some people push back on, because they think of rituals as like, this old ancient stuff with people, doing this, that, and the other. But a ritual is basically nothing more than just like a habit that you get into. And we can use rituals and habits, even for doing creative stuff, to help us in the long run. So, some of the creative rituals that I personally use and recommend to my clients for letting go of old stuff and inviting the new, is like journaling. I love journaling. There are so many different ways that you can do journaling. You can use journaling prompts, or as Marianne does, which I'm sure she's going to talk about. She uses her cards for journaling. So there are so many different ways you can journal. You can even doodle for journaling. So
Hmm.
journaling is a really good creative ritual that you can use for letting go of old stuff. Painting and drawing, obviously, and I'm sure Marianne will have a lot more to say about that. But again, movement and dance, I love those. Those you can a lot of people don't think of those as being creative, but they absolutely are, particularly if you just do it in a way where you just letting go and not worrying about the steps, not worrying about, what it looks like or how you look doing it or anything like that.
Mm.
Um, Years ago, I used to do clogging. It's like Appalachian style clogging. So I do have like some steps that are like muscle memoried into my brain. So sometimes I just go clogging around the house. It's not, any specific movements or steps or to any type of music. I'm just doing it because I like it and my body knows how to do it and my body enjoys doing it. So it's as much about finding things that you like as well. So, Marianne, what are some creative rituals that you utilize or you give to your clients to do or that you recommend?
Well, what I do personally, I started journaling when I created my cards because I didn't know how they worked and I needed to know, well,
Mhm.
how how can I get the best benefit from this? So I started journaling, and I'm very lucky insofar as when I chose my first card, I put down number one and I wrote the name of the card and the frequency number and number two, etc. And oh, do you know, Michaela? About 2 weeks ago, I pulled card number 4,000.
Wow.
4,000, right? So I have a record. I'm on my sixth, well, I'm nearly at the end of my sixth journal. But the card that I chose for myself on that day was called Impact. And it talked about the impact that it has, that I have on myself, but also the impact that I have created for the world.
Mhm.
And then a few days ago, I pulled card number 4,500.
Wow.
And I pulled that on the very day that my mom would have been 100 years old had she lived. She
Mm.
died just before her 97th birthday.
Wow.
And it was a real tribute to, and one of the reasons why I did that Orbit Sanctuary painting was, gratitude for what has happened in relation to me putting all this together, like with my cards and frequencies and spreading it out into the world. I'm just so grateful for that. So card number 4,500 there a few days ago, and I'm just so, so grateful. But that's the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is I take out my journal and I write what is my day like? Who am I going to meet today? How am I going to make an impact with them? How am I going to help them? How am I going to help me? So I set an intention for the day. And if I'm not feeling, well, that's the other thing. I wasn't actually, at the weekend, I was to do a recording of an interview with someone. I thought I was not going to be able to get out of bed. I just felt so unwell. But once I did my journaling and my cards and I installed the frequencies, that just lifted and shifted. And that's the way my cards work. So I utilize them on myself. So journaling is an amazing way of making making your life better because you're talking to, like what I said, talking to yourself. What do I want to get from today? What am I going
Yeah.
to do? How am I going to do it?
Yeah.
That's an amazing way of doing that. And if somebody is going to be moving to, dancing or moving, putting on some music that really lights their, floats their boat,
Mm.
because the music, the frequency of the music is going to elevate the vibration,
Mhm.
lift the mood, and the movement is going to add to that lifting and shifting,
Yeah.
and, you know, it's being in the present moment and enjoying every single second that you can, and just taking that time to be. It is magical, but just if you listen to what your conversation is to yourself or to other people, that'll give you an idea of what needs to change. If your conversation is negative, then become aware of what you're saying. And when you become aware of it, say, do you know what? I could actually make that an awful lot better. If I change that and make it more positive, then I'm going to lift and shift my energy and my vibration. So it's, again, listening and taking that, just being aware of what you're
Yeah.
saying, what you're doing, how you're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah. I totally agree with all that. And um, again, being able to express yourself creatively helps in releasing all of that trapped negative and emotional energy. And you can release it in a way that is nonverbal. You don't have to, try to put into words what you're feeling, or put into words what needs to come out, because again, as we discussed earlier, your subconscious knows. It already knows. It's just waiting for you to do something to let it out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like letting the air out of a balloon. You just need to just untie it and just let
Let
the
it
air
go.
out. It's like, stop holding on to it. It just wants you to untie the knot so it can let out all that air. So, and again, there are so many different ways that you can do that, and doing it intuitively allows you to get into the flow, which allows you to be in the moment. And that's what we're trying to get to, where we're trying to help you understand. And intuitively can be a big word for many people, particularly those that are stuck in their logical mind, which I deal a lot with, and I understand it. Again, I was one of those people. I still have a very analytical brain, but I've learned to balance myself between the analytical and the intuitive. And being able to do these creative activities will also help you to be able to do that too. If you find that you are a major overthinker and you're overly analytical about everything, finding little opportunities to do something creative is going to help balance you, and it will help you get out of that overly tense state as well. Because I've found that people that overthink a lot tend to be more tense, tend to be more stressed, tend to have higher cortisol levels. So
Mhm.
being able to balance that by doing something creative can help you go more into the rest state, can help you be able to let go of the tension that you're holding in your body, can help you to be able to let go of that trauma and those emotions that you're holding in your body that's causing physical pain or other physical issues. And it's as simple as just being able to let go in some way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you said about living in the present moment, one of my cards from the first deck I created, I called it, living in the now. And when you spell now backwards, you have one.
Yeah.
And if you mix up the letters even a little bit more, then it's OWN, then you can own it. So
There you
now
go.
one and own, and it is up to us, I mean, the healing, your body has the innate intelligence to heal itself if we can just step out of our own way to allow that to happen. And by taking that creativity time for ourselves to do that, your body will do it. Just take the time that you need to do the thing you love,
Yeah.
and your body will do the rest. Just allow it to happen. But many years ago, this might help someone, and I might have said it to you before, but many years ago when I was in a really bad situation physically, I couldn't sit, stand, or walk for many months, and my children had to get themselves to school, and they had to come home from school, whether it was raining or not. They had to cook for themselves. I never saw outside my bedroom for 4 months.
Mm.
It wasn't a good time. But within that time, I learned how to be, and we're human beings, not human doings.
Yeah.
But I wrote this poem for myself, and I called it Forgiveness for Freedom. Now, forgiveness, the thing about forgiveness is, it starts with you. It's about forgiving yourself. So I started off by saying, I forgive myself for all the times I did not like myself. I
Yeah.
forgive myself for all the times I did not love myself. I forgive myself for all my faults and failures. I forgive anyone who's ever hurt me. I forgive myself if I've ever hurt anyone. And I forgive them and me for me to be free.
Mm, lovely.
So sometimes we need to just forgive ourselves, and even that in itself is hugely freeing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. In the work that I do, I have found so many times that clients have had what I call self punishment. And usually that self punishment is from not forgiving themselves for something. And sometimes it's not even something they did. Sometimes it's not forgiving themselves for, for not standing up, or for themselves, or, or for not doing more, and these kind of things. And yeah, I totally agree with that. And because those things are in there on a subconscious level, we don't know really how we are going to express that on a conscious level. And so
Mm,
it's very important for us to be able to get to what's in the subconscious that's negative that needs to come out.
yeah,
And yeah, you're absolutely right. Lots of times there are forgiveness issues of some sort, whether it's real or imagined. And that's part of that whole limiting beliefs factor that we talk so much about. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So we've talked a little bit about, creativity and intuitive creative endeavors and all that stuff. And we've given you some ways that you can be intuitively creative. So let's talk a little bit about integrating creativity into our daily lives. So it's not going to do you any good to have all these different sources and all these different things that you can do if you don't actually do them. So finding small ways to incorporate creative expression into your daily life is doable, even for those of you who don't consider yourselves artistic. Okay. Being artistic and being creative are two totally different things. Okay. Let me start by saying that. I deal a lot with people that are just trying to do like stuff in business, and they're feeling stuck. And it's the lack of creativity that's preventing them from moving forward. So being creative is not only about artistic endeavor, it's also about creating the life that you want and creating who you want to be. So being creative isn't all about artistic endeavors. It can be, and doing something artistic can help open those channels for other creative, sides of your life, but they're two different things, but they do go hand in hand together. Um, but just doing, simple things like doodling and writing or mindful coloring, or lately, one of the things I've been doing is something called mindful walking. Okay. It's different than just a regular walk, which a regular walk in nature can also, help open up those channels too. But mindful walking is something totally different, where you're walking, but you're also being conscious of your breath, and you're conscious of nature. And so you're paying attention. I personally have just kind of started doing it with the breath. And when you're paying attention to your breath, it's bringing you inward, and you're less concerned with all the other stuff that is going on in your life. So your mind has less chatter. So because you're focused in on the breath, and you're not focused on, oh, I gotta do this and I gotta do that and I gotta do this and this and this and this, all of those things that cause stress and tension and raises the cortisol. So being able to pull it back, even the simple practice of walking can do wonders for you. Um, Now I know Marianne likes her decks, and I'm going to let her talk a little bit more about the decks. I love her decks too. I have one, and I've actually have started using her decks for my morning journaling. It's part of my morning journaling as well, based on her inspiration.
That's
And so you can use, you can use the healing card decks in your daily life. You can use color therapy. Again, we talked about color and how color can influence your mood. Um, there are different colors that can lift you, when you're down, or if you're overly, anxious, there are colors that can calm you. Being able to use those colors can also be a way to integrate creativity into your daily life. Journaling, again, I love journaling, so I just keep putting that out there. There's so many different ways that you can journal. I just encourage you to approach creative expression with curiosity rather than judgment. Okay, no self judgment, no, oh, it has to be this way, or it doesn't look right, of this, that, and the other. And understand that creativity can also serve as a meditation and as a stress release tool.
Mhm.
We've talked about, crochet and knitting and rebounding. All of those different things can help reduce your stress, which in the long run is absolutely going to be really good for your body. Okay. Because stress is like the underlying factor of almost everything that goes on in physical ailments in the body. Okay.
Mhm.
Stress leads to inflammation, and inflammation is the factor of, most chronic disease. Okay. Uh, so, and then there is an element that I want to stress, the importance of self compassion as well, in the creative process. And this is about not judging yourself and not being judgmental on whether you're doing the right thing, or it looks a certain way, or you're moving the right way in this, that, and the other. Don't judge yourself. So, and those are going to be what I'm going to offer. So, Marianne, what would you like to offer to those that are listening and watching about integrating creativity into their daily life?
Well, my advice would be to become your own best friend.
Mm,
That's the first thing. And, you know, learning to like and to love yourself is the best self care that you can give, because when you do that, there is no room for blame or shame or any of those stressful and that non-judgmental, like don't be blaming and shaming yourself. Don't be think if you're thinking those thoughts, just say to yourself, okay, well, what is the opposite to that?
yeah.
And state the opposite and start reprogramming how you're thinking, how you're feeling. It is it's the most wonderful gift you can give yourself, is to look inward. And also a really good one to do is to actually stand at the mirror and look at yourself and just say your name and just say, look, I really do like you. I really do love you. It's not starting off, it's not easy to do, but it becomes easier. And that's something I would absolutely encourage everybody to do. Because when you start liking and loving yourself, you're going to change the dynamics and you're going to change the vibration of how you're feeling. And what you were saying about the creativity and even changing colors that you might wear, um, you're opening new neurological pathways in your brain, which gives you more opportunity, as you just said, to for problem solving and solutions that you're looking to for solutions for. Could be personal solutions or professional solutions. So creativity does take, when you take time to be creative, you are investing in solution solving problems, because you are rewiring your brain and opening new neurological pathways. So it's an investment in yourself. So be good to yourself, enjoy being you, because only one of you, everybody is unique and everybody has a purpose and a passion. And just live that purpose and that passion to the fullest for yourself.
Well said. Well said. All right, so we've come to the end of our time here. We have talked about all kinds of things. We've talked about the power of creative expression and healing. We've talked about symbols and archetypes, which helps us unlock our subconscious mind. We've talked about the role of intuition in the creative process. We've talked about spring renewal and releasing the old and planting new. And we've talked about, different ways that you can integrate creativity into your daily life. So, what are you going to take away from this? How are you going to be creative? How are you going to become more self aware? How are you going to support yourself? Those are the things that I want you to think about. So, I have a couple journal prompts that I want to offer to you before we end here that you can use. Okay. So, start with what emotions, habits, or thoughts feel heavy in your life right now? What lessons have you learned from past challenges that you're ready to release? And if you could paint or draw a symbol representing what you're letting go of, what would it be? Those are some good things for you to start with. Remember, creative and creativity is not about necessarily about being artsy. It's about creating the life you want and creating the person that you want to be. And we've given you so many tools that you can utilize in this. Spring is a time for renewal. Jump on that energy, that vibration of spring, and do something for yourself. Renew yourself in body and mind. I invite you to try a creative exercise and reflect on your renewal process and share your experiences with us. We'd love to hear what you have to say. So, that is it for today's show. You can, if you're interested in Marianne's card decks, you can visit Marianne at marianneegan.ie. You can find resources from me at livingnaturallyforlife.com. I actually have one that I created that goes with this show. It's called Creativity for Healing. I will drop the link in the comments when I get a moment. And until next time, remember, wellness isn't a destination, it's your daily journey. So, bye for now and see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This episode is brought to you by Living Naturally for Life and Heart Art Magic. Comment, like, subscribe.